we're going to learn about healing tools in Photoshop. So the first thing you need to do is go into Schoology and download all the photos that accompany this and load them into Lightroom. Once they're in Lightroom, you're going to use the Control-E command and you're going to have them pop over into Photoshop one at a time. So let's begin. I'm going to open mine a different way, but you're going to just pop yours over to Photoshop. So let's start with this Band-Aid, and we're literally going to use the Band-Aid tool. So you're going to make sure that you're in Essentials Workspace, and you're going to get the Healing tool. Now the Healing tool looks like a Band-Aid. That is why I have this Band-Aid on the screen. And remember that the Band-Aid tool is a brush, and with all of the brushes you can use the left and the right brackets on your keyboard to make that brush bigger or smaller. And we want our brush size to be about the size of the Band-Aid. Once you have the Spot Healing tool selected and the size is correct, you're just simply going to swipe over the Band-Aid and it will disappear. Now if you go into that drawer, you're going to see that there is a Remove tool. It looks like a Band-Aid with little fairy dust around it or sparkles, and we are going to remove this crack. So again, you want to set the brush size to about just a little bit larger than the crack itself. And then you're just going to paint away. So you're just going to draw and you're going to see a little pink appear. Anything that you think should be removed. And then you'll pause. It will take about 5 seconds and it will disappear. And then anything that you don't think looks perfect, you can just swipe over and it will remove. And that's all. Hit Control-S to save. And then you can close out of this and it will be in your Lightroom. All right, now we're going to use another tool. So we're going to grab this sunset boat. So open that into Photoshop. And this time we are going to use something that is called Content Aware Fill. So to do this, you need to find the Marquee tool. And that is going to be your second tool down. So grab the Marquee tool and you're going to click and drag a box around this. If for some reason you didn't do it correctly, you can hit Control-D or click the deselect button. You can also move this left or right or up or down the little marquee by using the nudge keys on your keyboard, and those are just the arrow keys that you see on your keyboard, and that will nudge it around. Once you have it perfectly set, go to the Content Aware Move tool, which is found in the same drawer that the healing brush and the remove tools were. Now you simply grab the middle of it and drag it to the side like you've seen here. You got to be very careful though. You got to line up the horizon line. So just make sure that you're lining up the horizon line. Don't have it too high or too low. Just pull it straight off to the side. And once it's aligned, you let go, you hit done, and the first one will disappear and it will now be moved. Now if you look closely around the edges, you can see a little box, so it's not a perfect composite where it would look like it's seamless, but it does a pretty good job moving it. Now that's all we're going to do for that one. So, and again, I just zoomed in here so you could see. Now you don't have to do this part, but I just want to show you if I wanted to kind of seamlessly fix some of these edges, I could use what's called the patch tool. You do not have to do this to yours. I just want to demonstrate on mine. So just that would help patch it. Now patching in the down low here in the reflection doesn't work as well, but there's other ways that we could do that too. Now that's all you're going to do to this in Photoshop. So you would hit Control S. That will save it back to Lightroom and you will be done with it and close out. Okay, now we are going to look for our next photo. So we're going to go back into Lightroom. And this time we're going to grab the sheep. Now for the sheep, we are going to clone this sheep. Now it's really, really important that you understand what's about to happen. You are going to create a target point, and that's going to point to the original sheep. And then you're going, when you let go of that target point, your paintbrush is going to turn into whatever it is that you targeted. So for example, I'm going to have 2 sheeps when I'm done here. So I will do this process. So first we need to find the clone tool. It looks like a rubber stamp on your toolbar. Now you're going to hover over the sheep. It's a good idea because this has a horizon line that you're going to align it, the target point, to where the horizon is. So you're going to put your cursor right about where the feet hit the ground, and you're going to put your cursor there. Then you have to hold Alt. Now hold down Alt and click. Now let go of Alt, let go of your click. Now when you move your brush over, you're going to see that your brush is wherever you clicked. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is over where the sheep is, there's a small plus sign. It's called a crosshair. That crosshair is going to show you what is being cloned. So you're going to line up your horizon line and just start clicking and dragging, and this will paint a new sheep. There it is. Now, I want you to do that one more time. Again, sample by holding Alt, line it up to the horizon line, and start painting. Now, I got a little close to the other sheep. You got to be careful of that. And now you have more than one sheep. Now, I would like you to go to Edit, Undo, and undo the last sheep that you did. And now you're going to go up to the word Window and click on Clone Source. Once you've clicked on Clone Source, a pop-up will appear. And I want you to click on the little button that flips it horizontal. This will clone, but it's going to make the sheep face the other direction. So you're going to do the exact same thing, except it will face the other way. So you'll have to still hold Alt, and you're going to select the start at the horizon line and start painting your sheep. And now he's facing, or she is facing, the other way. Now, that's all we're going to do with that. And so we're going to save, Control S, and close out. All right, next we are going to grab the girl in the mirror, and we're going to make it look like she has a mirror reflection. For this, you're going to need the Magic Wand tool. That is the 4th tool down, but you may not see it because it may be inside the drawer. So open the drawer of the 4th tool down, and that way you will find the Magic Wand tool. Now let me explain a little bit about the Magic Wand tool. You're going to have to work in the options bar. When you use this tool, it's going to select similar things in color that you click on. So up here where it says tolerance, if I have this set to 10 and I clicked in the mirror, it would only select a portion of it. So instead, I am going to make sure that it is set to 32. Why 32? I'm not sure, but it is a common number in Photoshop. The other thing I want to check mark is the word contiguous. Make sure that's checked. And what that will do, it's going to allow us to, when we click, it will stay in one area instead of selecting things that are a similar color all over the photo. So you do want 32 and you want contiguous checked. Now click inside the mirror and it should select the entire mirror. Now I want you to navigate over to your layers panel. At the bottom of your layers panel, click the plus sign and you're going to get a new blank layer. It's important that you have a new blank layer because we're going to clone, but instead of it cloning on the background layer, it's going to clone onto the layer 1 layer. Now you're going to go to your clone and you're going to go to your clone source panel. Now remember, we just got that up, but if you didn't keep it up, you would go to the word window and choose clone source. But on mine, it is still up. And we want to flip it horizontal again, like we did with the backwards sheep. Once that's there, target her face. Now remember, to target her face, you're going to hold Alt and click right on her nose. Then let go of Alt and let go of your mouse click, and you're going to start to paint inside the mirror. Just go about just a little ways into the mirror, and you're going to paint back and forth, and because the mirror is selected, it is going to stay inside of just that section. You just want to make sure you're cloning her right into the mirror. Then you can hit deselect. And there you have it. Now she's a mirror image of herself. Now, it might not look super realistic, so we want to see that she is on her own layer, and so we can do a few things with that layer. So look at your layers panel, and there's something called blend mode. So right now in yours it says normal. If you click the word normal on the layers panel, you're going to see a pop-up appear. On that pop-up, there's lots of options, and you can just kind of hover up and down and see what they do. Now I want you to keep this looking realistic, so don't use anything black and white or make her look like she's negative or disappear. You want to make it look like it could actually be a true reflection. So scroll up and down and pick your favorite version of what it does to her reflection. Just kind of scroll up and down. You could also change the opacity. The opacity is a slider on your layers panel, and it's just how much you can see through it or not. 100% opaque means you can't see through it. If it's less than 100, you can start seeing through it a little bit. So you can mess with that, or if you don't like changing the opacity, you can leave that alone too. Now you have to hit Control E so you compress those layers together when you're done. And you'll just have one locked background layer. And that's all we're going to do with this one. So you're going to hit Control S, and that's going to save, and then you're going to close out of this version. Okay, next we are going to go into Lightroom and open up the one that's called Acne. It's not super pleasant to look at, I understand that, but when we edit portraits, it's going to come in handy. So this could work on anything. It doesn't just have to work on acne, but it's something that I want to teach you. So you can see she has blemishes on the left side of her face, and she's already been photoshopped on the right. So we're going to use some of those spot healing and remove tools that we used before. So you're going to find that drawer of objects. So we can go to the remove tool and we can just start painting. Now you're going to notice in the options bar, it does say there's a check mark that says remove after each stroke. What's going to happen there is every time you make a stroke, it's going to think for 5 seconds and then remove the problem. We can uncheck that, and if we uncheck that, we can paint, and you can paint the pink on, and then when you're done selecting all the areas, you could hit the check mark. So whatever works best for you. Because there's so many blemishes, it is kind of nice to not have to remove after every stroke. So again, you would just kind of paint around make your brush size just a little bit larger than what the acne is. Don't do the whole skin because then it will be really weird looking. And then hit the check mark when you're done. And again, it's going to take a lot of steps to make it look perfect. You can also go back to the spot healing tool and kind of do what I'm doing here to get rid of some of the bruising. I'm going to use the remove tool again, and I'm going to remove this line. Again, I have to hit the check mark when I'm done, and then that line will be gone from her face. And then you could just continue to work with it until you think like her face looks like it's natural. Now, if you go into the drawer, there's also something called the patch tool. What the patch tool is going to let you do is going to allow you to make a selection around parts that you don't think look perfect. And when you make that selection, you can click inside of it and start dragging it to a good part of her skin. And you can keep doing that, and that's going to help you smooth out the toning that started to look almost like bruising. You got to be careful not to like get into her hair or her jaw or her ear or her mouth or nose, because then it will smear it and it won't look correct. But just kind of work with it. You can move around to different tools. You know, you can go back to the remove tool if you want to remove any little pores or anything, or the spot healing tool. So you're going to have to kind of bounce back and forth between tools until you get it just right. Now go ahead and make the save, and you will save it back to Lightroom. Okay, we are going to open up this guy. Now the challenge with this guy is we are going to use some of the generative fill tools for this. And my goal for you is to come up with a theme, and I want you to change this guy. I want you to remove his hat and remove his shirt at the least amount of things, okay? So at least remove his shirt, at least remove his hat. And I want you to think about a theme. So I've made him into a cowboy before, I've made him into a clown before, and so just think of what you could make him into. I had someone make him into a girl with a dress. Some other people have given him facial hair. Other people have made him a firefighter or a hunter. So just, figure out what it is that you want to do. The only thing you're not allowed to do is change his face. So you could remove his glasses, but don't select his whole head, because he has to kind of look like it's the same person. I don't want you to make a whole new guy. So to do this, you're going to need to select different parts. I suggest using the lasso tool. So you're going to start with the lasso tool, and here I'm just going to loosely select his shirt. Okay, go around here. And then when you do that, you will have your contextual taskbar pop up, and you're going to click on generative fill, and it's going to allow you to make a prompt. And I want you to come up with something. It could be as simple as red shirt, or it could be, fireman suit. Whatever you think you want him to wear would be fine with me. So go ahead and type a prompt. I'm going to type in red shirt and then hit generate. It will generate for 12 long seconds, so you got to be patient. After those 12 seconds, it's going to show you what it came up with. So I don't know how they got this out of red shirt, but we never get the same results twice because it's AI, so that means it will never generate the same thing twice, even if you use the same prompt. Now, on the contextual toolbar, you'll see 1 out of 3. That means it has 3 versions for you to choose from. So you'll see a little arrow, and you can go through those 3 versions. So version 1, version 2, and version 3. If you like one of those, you can certainly keep it, or you can ask it to generate again with the same prompt, or you could choose a different prompt. Now, if you like it, you have to hit Control E, and that's going to flatten on your layers panel. You have to do that every single time. Don't forget that step. Now, I'm going to use the lasso tool to select his hat. Now, if you wanted to have like big puffy hair, or you wanted to have long hair, or anything like that, you would have to think about how much space that would need. So if you picked a really tiny area, it's only going to fill in that tiny area. So if you wanted like a big puffy hair, like I had a clown one time, and so I had to select more than just his hat because I needed that puffy clown hair to go into the background. So just remember, you have to kind of predict what you want. So select, so his hats will be removed. Don't do his whole head though. Now I'm going to type in cowboy hat. Now hopefully this is a big enough area for a cowboy hat to be built and it won't look mini. And so we'll hit generate, and we're going to get our 3 versions after it hits generate. So version 1, version 2, version 3. I personally don't love any of them, so I actually deleted that layer. So I went over to the layers panel and I pressed the delete icon that looks like a trash can. This time, I'm going to select a bigger area because I think if I want a truly looking cowboy hat, it needs to be bigger. So I'm going to select more. So I'm going to use the lasso tool and select more and try it again and see how just selecting a bigger area will change it into the cowboy hat that I have envisioned. Remember, it's 12 long seconds. Now it's starting to look a little bit better. I liked version 2, so I'm going to hit Control E and flatten my layers. Now I'm going to get real tricky. I'm going to try to see if I can remove his glasses. So I have to only select his glasses, not his eyes. And I just want to remove them, so I'm going to type in remove, but I could have just hit generate and see if that helped. So I'm going to hit generate, and remember, AI doesn't do great on faces or fingers or letters, so we'll see. Hey, that's not bad. That's not a bad option. He looks a little bit bruised, but I could always use the healing tool. Control E will flatten. So he's starting to look a little bit like a cowboy. Now I wish he was wearing like a bandana. So I'm going to try to give him a bandana. Sometimes people call them neckerchiefs. So I'll type in that and see how it goes. Not starting off great, is it? Now I deleted that layer because I thought maybe if I selected a little bit better, it might do a better job for me. This time I'm going to, instead of neckerchief, I'm going to hit bandana and see how that goes. It's getting a little better, but it kind of looks more like a scarf. Now I'm going to change the prompt. I'm going to put in red bandana and hit generate again. So instead of 3 options, I'll now have 6 options to scroll through. That's not terrible, so I'm going to keep it Control E so I can flatten those layers. Now, every cowboy needs a horse, so I'm going to try to see if I can get him riding a horse. So I'm just going to select this whole bottom area, and I'm going to type in riding horse saddle. We will see. Not too bad. Again, it usually doesn't do very well with hands, but it didn't do terrible. Little leg there, that's weird. Okay, pick the best one. I kind of like that. Control E to flatten my layers. And I think we're probably done. I would probably try to clean up his face if I had more time, but because he looks like he's a little bruised or dirty, but I think it looks pretty good. Okay, now you're going to hit Control S and you're going to save it back to Lightroom.